Hi, welcome back to Becky Emil Horse Training, and I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about groundwork. I get a lot of questions about my groundwork and what can we do with babies and weanlings and yearlings in general. And I think there's a little bit of a misconception about what we're doing with babies. I think a lot of folks think that we're just pounding them into the ground, and I know we're using the round pen today as our classroom, but I'm going to show you some things you can do with your weanling or your yearling or actually any age horse, and it will improve their respect of you on the ground with them. And as they say, you ride the same horse you lead. So if we can take care of this stuff on the ground, we're going to have a better, more respectful individual once we get on their back. So this is Top Gun's two-step, and he's going to help me today explain to you some stuff we're going to teach him about moving away from pressure. And actually, he's already been taught this, but I'm just going to show you some of the things that I've done to teach him how to stay out of my space and lead with me. So just a little bit of stepping out of my space here. I'm going to walk into him, and as soon as he moves out of my space, I'm going to stop pushing on him and I'm going to pet him. Ideally, I would like, this is really technical, I would like this front leg to cross over that leg. And it has to do with elevating the shoulders, and it's something that happens when we're on their back, but on the ground I would prefer that that front leg cross over. And if he's going to walk away from me, I'll pull him back to me and pet him when he comes back to me, and then I'm going to push him again out of my space. And if he wants to walk away, I'm going to come back this way and ask him to come back and pet again. And I'll ask until he moves out of my space. If this was brand new to him and he didn't know how to move out of my space yet, then I would stay there as long as I could to get him to step over away from me. Just step into his space and he steps away. Your timing is everything on this. This is something that's really hard to teach. You don't learn it until you've done a lot of these horses, is learning the timing. When they do what you're asking of them, you have to quit what you're doing. Pet, release, take the pressure off. So obviously he's already been through this and he understands where his space is with me. And at this age, it's kind of easy if I need to push him around or move him away from me. He's not going to clean my clock as easy as he would if he were much larger. And I can physically push him around a little bit if I need to, if he's just being rude and pushing on me. Got one step and release. I'm going to go to the other side and do it. Step into his space. Ask him to step over. Pet. And so too many folks with their babies, if they do handle them, they make their babies too gentle, and this is a common problem that I see among a lot of colt starters, is they don't like them if they're too gentle. And that's when they allow that colt to get too much into their space. And so we want to teach them right now to be respectful of our space, because this guy is capable of learning in a herd situation that that other mama is going to clean his clock if he gets into her space. His mama won't, but that other mama will. So he's capable of learning from me right now that if he gets into my space, he's going to get in trouble for getting into my space. And I can stop him right there and pet him. Now, the next step I'm going to do with him is I'm going to ask him to move these hindquarters over. Now, when I ask for the hindquarters to move over, I want this front end to stay still. And there's a reason why I'm going to show you in a little bit here why that's important. So I'm going to come back here, push his little hip over, and release as soon as he takes that step, and as soon as he tries. Okay, we have to recognize the try. Not all horses are going to step as good as he does. If something just gives slightly to your pressure and leans a little bit, that's trying, okay? So we're going to do it again. And we don't want him to move that front end, so we're going to push that front end back over where we need it to be. He has to stay out of our space, because what's going to happen is if he decides to move this front end into me, as I push this hind end away, he's going to swing around and clean my clock, okay? He's going to step on me, he's going to run me over, he's going to shoulder me. And right now, it's not that big of a deal because he's just a little guy. But when they get big, when they're 2, when they're 4, when they're 7 and they do that stuff, they're going to wipe you out. And it may not be a big deal if you're a 6-foot tall man. You can get out of the way, or you're a big enough wall or a gate panel in your own body to stop that. But when you're my size, you have to have this respect from the start. So we're going to ask him to step his little hip over again. And we're going to still correct that front end. Okay? So he's real respectful of my space. This guy's friendly, he's gentle, but he's a professional already. He's professional about his job he's out here doing with me. So we're getting a little bit of front end movement, but that's okay. He's not coming into me. We're going to do the other side, and it's really important that we do both sides. Either yourself or your colt starter will really appreciate this in the future, because you have to be able to work both sides of the horse. They have to be comfortable with you on both sides, because a lot of stuff happens on this side that we don't always pay attention to. So we're going to turn them around so you guys can see. And we're going to ask him to move this little hip over. And see how he wants to circle a little bit? That's a symptom of him dropping that shoulder and swinging into me. That'll happen really bad when he's a lot bigger. So we'll just push him a little bit out of our space, remind him where he's supposed to be. Let me move back away from my cameraman. Set him back up again. Oh. I'm trying really hard not to force his head. I'm trying to show him where I need his body. I'm going to step again. There, that's it, right there. That's exactly what we're looking for. Okay, now I'm going to quit with that on him, because that was such a good experience right there. I don't need to do it 19 more times. I don't need to do it 5 more times. I think he learned it right there in one shot. Horses are capable of learning something in one shot. If they didn't, in the wild, they would be somebody's supper. So we're going to move on to another horse, a 2-year-old filly that just came in for training, and I'm going to show you why all of this is important right here, that they learn this stuff when they're little guys, if you have an opportunity to work with a little one. 2-year-old mare, and she came in for training a couple days ago, and I got to work with her for the first time yesterday, and I thought she would be a good candidate for me to show you what I was trying to explain there on the little 2-step colt. Now, she's been running out on the Badlands of South Dakota, and so she's got some snarls in her mane I haven't been able to take care of yet, and haven't got to really groom on her that much yet. But this mare was halter broke as a weanling, and she was handled, and she was led around just a little bit before she was turned out. And so I just want to show you what I'm dealing with when I start them as a 2-year-old, and they may not have necessarily learned about getting out of your space and being in the right position. So here we go, just doing the same exact thing we were doing with the little 2-step colt. I'm going to step into her space, and I kind of got my hands up because I'm trying to protect my own head, okay? This is almost the type of thing that you might want to wear a helmet sometimes if you have one that really kind of wants to push into you. But see how her answer is to back away rather than to step away with her shoulder? And right there we quit, okay? That's timing, all right? That's your timing. Okay, but we see now that this mare's a little bit taller, and I'm still the same size I am, and when we get to this age, and if they aren't respectful of your space, they will wipe you out and smoke you right on the ground there. So that was really, really good for her. And here again, we're not working the mare into the ground just because we're in the round pen. It's our classroom today, okay? It's walls that just in case she were to get away from me, I can get her caught up pretty easy. But there's that misconception there that people think that I'm just working these horses into the ground, and I'm not. So we're gonna go to the other side on her. And yesterday I found out that this is her weaker side. She's not real comfortable with me on this side. See how she's moving away? And she's turning her head because she wants me on that side. She's trying to protect this eye over here, okay? And that's a lot of what people don't recognize when they're handling horses. See how she just put me on that side on her own? I didn't do anything. I'm just standing here talking to you. So I'm gonna get back over there and I'm gonna ask her to move over out of my space again. And she did it. Good. And it's okay if she comes back to me. I gave her the release where I needed to give her the release, okay? And there's lots of different ways to do this same technique. You don't necessarily have to do it on the line. You can do it when they're tied to a tie rail. You can work them into the ground if you want to and teach them. If they don't stay in the same spot or the spot that you place them, they'll have to go run. There's lots of different ways. You just do what works for you. This is what works for me. There, really respectful of my space. Okay? So now we're gonna go to her hip. And this is where I found the big problem yesterday. And hopefully it's not as big of a problem today, but you'll be able to identify it. I can't imagine she's gonna be perfect for me. So we're gonna go back to the hip and ask her to step over. See how that front end started to come towards me? Okay, I don't want that front end towards me. Because when this horse comes around and wheels around, she's gonna nail me. She's gonna step on me, she's gonna run me over. So I need to address that right now, right here, before this escalates into something bigger. Because the first time you throw a saddle up there, or throw a surcingle up there, or whatever you hang off of them, and they spin to come into you, they're gonna run you over. And her first answer was to step back. I'm gonna put her back over. And so what you could do too is put your hand up as a reminder to stay there. There, good girl. Good girl. So we're gonna go to the other side and show on the other side. Girl. And this side was really tough for her yesterday, and that's how quickly she learned it. This is when I go back to, they only need to see it one time or do it one time, and they will get it. If you do it right and your timing is correct, they will get it. There, and look at that front end stay still. And the reason why, another reason why this technique is important is we're gonna eventually move to this area right here to ask her to move over. And look at that, she moved over, okay? And guess what, eventually when I'm on her back, I'm gonna put my leg back there and ask her to move her hip over. Or I'm gonna ask her to side pass, or I'm gonna ask her to roll, or I'm gonna ask her to bend. And I need to have all of that stuff taken care of here on the ground before I ever get on her back. So I hope this helped you a little bit and gave you a good little example of something to work on with your horses at home. You know, you could do it with them at any age, but it sure helps if you do it with them when they're little guys, and it makes your life a whole lot easier when they get bigger. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Share this video. You can contact me by email, Facebook, or Instagram. But thanks for watching, and until next time, have a good one.